and the time that I most like doing these episodes. I will be sharing two experiences with you this evening that I had in the beyond body, which is, again, as I've said in other episodes, something I love to do and something that has been happening to me recently. In this first experience that happened, I felt that familiar movement. And for those of you who have not watched the previous episodes on Beyond Body, there are two things I want to tell you about it. The first thing is it is not, at least in my mind and in my opinion, astral projection. It is different than astral projection in the sense that when this experience occurs, I do not feel as if I've actually left my body. There is darkness, there is movement, but this movement isn't leaving my body. I feel as if my body itself is somehow traveling, moving through perhaps space and time. I don't know. My eyes are closed and there is darkness, so I don't know exactly what's happening, but I do feel this sense of motion. And in this first experience that I'm going to share with you, yes, of course, I felt that sense of motion. And in my mind, I always say, here we go again, because wow, it's going to happen again. And I have no idea each time this happens. I don't know where I'm going to end up. I have no idea. And this particular experience was no exception. There was movement. And then suddenly I was in this cafeteria like area. Now, I say cafeteria because that's what it felt like to me at first. It felt like I was in a cafeteria. And for those of you who have eaten in cafeterias, you know what I mean. There were tables and there were people, and I even think there were people that were eating. When I first arrived there, it was like, so again, there's movement, there's darkness, and then that darkness, it lifts and suddenly I'm someplace else. And I was standing near this table and I remember that I had to steady myself. Now, again, as I said in previous episodes, for whatever reason, when I first come in to this beyond body situation, I am unsteady and I feel as if I'm losing my balance unless I steady myself. Now, once I get myself steadied, I'm okay, but when I first get there, I'm always shaky, and this was no exception. These people didn't seem to think that I just appeared out of nowhere. And so my thought is, of course, I don't think I materialized suddenly, just like I popped into view. Somehow I was there and perhaps I had walked in. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure how this works. I'm not exactly sure what it means to exist simultaneously in all these different realities. And so, and if I really think about it, if I truly sit and think about it, my mind will simply explode. So I'm not going to. The only thing I know is that when I appeared, when I was there, when I first saw this area, I was standing near this table and I steadied myself and I looked around and there were people and they were caring about in conversation. They were doing their own thing. Again, people didn't seem to be paying much attention to me. So I walked around, kind of explored a little bit, and I noticed there was a lady that was kind of looking at me. Now, I don't remember much about what this lady looked like. I think she was a bit older, and she was sitting at this table. At this point, I started thinking, this could be more of a waiting area than a cafeteria. And I asked her, what this place was or something like that. And she just started going on about the fact that she was moving to a moon. Now, I'm talking about the moon, like the moon that comes in at night that's full and all those things. Like that moon, the one that we landed the astronauts on, that moon. Well, probably not that moon, but that's an example. Like an actual moon is what she said she was moving to. And the way she made it sound in the conversation, it was like she was moving there for a better life. And I remember that this moon started with the letter A, and then there were numbers, I think, that followed that. But this was so interesting to me because it was all very, very matter of fact, as if I said to uh, I'm moving to Las Vegas. I'm going to move to Las Vegas. And so I'm going to do that to get a better life because the rents are cheaper and there's a job there and it's going to pay me more. It was that kind of conversation, except this person said they were going to the moon. What I do also recall about this conversation was that I said, "Really? You are going to the moon? You can do that?" And I think this person probably thought, well, why wouldn't I be able to? But, I'm not sure. I didn't speak to her for too long before I actually moved on because I'm like, okay, I don't know how much time I have here. I should look around some more. So I walked up towards the front where I could exit, and there was a young girl. I think she had blonde hair. She was sitting there. And then there was a lady behind her, and she looked like she was standing near some sort of copying machine or something. Really strange. Anyway, for some reason, this little girl looked at me and I think she smiled. And for some reason, I told this little girl that I was from another reality. And she simply smiled. The other lady looked at me like I was a nutcase. And who could blame her? If I was actually in another reality at that point, perhaps in that reality, they feel the same way we would feel if someone walked up to somebody on the street and said, "I'm from another reality." It looked like she thought I was crazy. So, again, who could blame her? And the last little detail here and I can't explain why it was, the lower section of her eye, like her eyelid, was glowing. And I don't know what that was all about. I have no idea to this day what that was all about. But yeah, and then suddenly I was back. I was back in this 3D reality on Earth. In this next experience, it was, I think, at times similar to my other time travel experience. Again, there was a lot of motion before ending up in this place. And I remember as I slowed down, the darkness lifted, and I believe I was walking in some sort of alleyway or something. It was damp, I think. And as I came out of this alley, I saw these cars, and they were cars from the 50s. So now, if for those of you who have watched my Beyond Body episode on time travel, the first one I did, and I wasn't really getting into the Beyond Body at that point. I'd had the experiences, obviously, but I wasn't really getting into them then. This was more like the late 60s, early 70s. These cars, I am fairly sure, were from the 50s. And I thought, oh my gosh, I remember kind of yelling out. And again, I'm sure people thought I was weird, and wherever I was, or whatever reality I was, whatever, they just must have thought I was crazy. I went, cool, this is like the 50s. So I started walking, just walking around, and there was a little girl. She had short brown hair, brown eyes, smallish face. And for some reason, we started talking. We started having a conversation. And I remember one of the things and one of my goals when I go to these places, because I know that I have a very short window. It's a very small amount of time to do this. I'm not going to be able to spend hours hanging around exploring. So one of the things I always want to do is find out, where am I? That's the first thing I want to find out. And so there are times when I'm not able to ask people where I am, or I don't have the opportunity to. And there are times, and I will share another experience with you in another episode, where there are people that simply refuse to tell me where I am. They won't say anything. They just sit and stare at me. In this instance, this young lady, I asked her, I said, as we walked, and I don't remember how we connected. I think I just saw her walking and we just started talking because, whatever. And I didn't ask her name, or at least I don't remember what her name was if she told me. But I do remember this. I asked her, is this Earth? And she said, no. No, this is not Earth. I said, really? I said, what is this place? And she said, this place is called Lowell. Now, I looked up Lowell, Googled it. I don't know what the spelling is. If for those of you who are listening to this, if you have any idea what Lowell means, if it's another language or whatever, please let me know in the comments, because I have no idea what Lowell is. But it is always so exciting to me when I get a name of something, when I can bring something back for you guys so that hey, look, I was in this place. And many times I'm not able to bring back a name or a word or, whatever. But this time, yes, Lowell, or something like that. It was like Lowell. And I didn't know what to make of it. We continued to walk, and for some reason I remember she touched my face. I don't remember why she did, but when she touched my face, I felt a bit of pain. And again, this is a theme with me when I either leave my body, and I guess sometimes when I do this beyond body thing, when someone touches me, I feel pain, and I'm not exactly sure why. She touched my face, and then she touched my hand. And when she touched my hand, I also felt some pain. And again, I'm not sure why that was. Now, at some point, I knew, or I felt as if I had to get back. So I kind of excused myself from her. I think she wanted to continue talking to me. I think she was fascinated with our conversation. I'm not exactly sure the details of that conversation, but the moment I stepped away from her, I was back. I was back in the 3D world. And those were two experiences that I had in the last, I think I would say the last 6 months or so, maybe more. Yeah, in the last 6 months. I think I had those in the summertime. I love the beyond body experiences, and of course I will be sharing more with you and telling you about them, along with other videos. I'll also be going back into astral projection, and of course I'll be answering any question that you guys have. Thank you so much for coming on another journey with me, and until next time, take care.